Hi, it's Mark Wright here, president of Via San Francisco, and I think today I'm going to be telling you about something that could be one of the most important developments in shears in my 30-year career, and this is the new Slip Shear from Via. What makes Slip so exciting is that it's strictly built for slide cutting. The blades of the Slip Shear have a curvature and a design to them that facilitates slide cutting in a way that is smoother and more effortless than anything you've ever tried before. You just push them through the hair and the hair parts in front of the blade. There's no drag, no pull, and we're talking dry hair as well as wet hair. It's slide cutting like nothing you've ever seen before, and without any risk of accidentally lopping off a whole section. You know, this type of slide cutting is really a safe and fun way to do it. Point cutting too, very, very soft. You never have to worry about cutting a hard line in when you're point cutting. You get just very, very soft finish on the ends. And it's all because the shear is not designed to cut straight lines. It's really designed strictly for slide cutting. What got me excited about this concept was a recent trip to Japan. I was talking to some very talented hairdressers, and they were telling me about some new shears that they had gotten there, one of which was $1,200, the other was like $1,600. And they were telling me how these shears were just built for slide cutting and how they really have gotten to a point where they can't live without them. One of the guys' $1,200 shear needed to be sharpened, and he bought a second pair just so he wouldn't have to go a couple of days without it. And when I heard that, I thought, my God, there's really something to this. And we decided to make a slide cutting shear that would be affordable for every hairdresser. And that's really what Slip is all about. Now, like all high-quality Via shears, Slip is a forged steel shear that has been cryogenically tempered. Now, shears are forged at about 1200 degrees with tremendous heat and pressure. After the forging process, most shears are just ice tempered, which means that they're plunged into a 32-degree oil bath, and the sudden change from high temperature to low temperature helps to crystallize the metal and harden it. The only problem with ice tempering is that when you're done ice tempering, you have kind of a random structure in the metal. The molecules were in motion at 1200 degrees, they're plunged into a 32-degree oil bath, and you end up with a structure where some of the molecules are tight together and some of them are spaced wide or apart. The problem with this is where the molecules are widely separated, the steel can be weaker and less able to hold an edge. Now, we use a technique called cryogenic tempering, where we bring the steel down to 300 below zero. This pulls all the molecules tightly together. They're compacted as tightly as they possibly can be. Then we bring the temperature back up to room temperature over a controlled process that lasts several days. The molecules drift apart again, but as you can see, in this way they drift apart equidistantly according to physics, and you end up with a much more organized grain structure. By eliminating the wide gaps between molecules, you can improve the durability of the steel by almost double, which means double the edge holding ability. Now, in addition to cryogenic tempering, we have a flat line tension system that clicks into the place. This comes with a coin that you can use to adjust it, so you simply fit the coin into the screw and turn it one click at a time, and it'll lock in the tension for you. In addition, Slip has our new wide contact thumb ring. As you can see, the new thumb ring is about twice as wide as the traditional thumb ring on rotating shears, so it really spreads the pressure out better. And of course, Slip is a rotating shear, and during this video you'll get to see a number of ways that Allison will take advantage of the rotating handle. All in all, I think you're going to find Slip to be an invaluable tool that you really won't be able to live without. Now, here's Jessie, our model. And Jessie's a lovely young lady. She works in a library. She kind of has a conservative approach, so Allison's going to really give her a new look, but she's going to try and maintain some of the conservative feel that Jessie's used to. Now you can see kind of a slow turn of what Jessie's hair looks like really before we get started, and I think you'll see a dramatic change as we go through. Now we'll start out by initially cutting the length using the next shear. Again, Slip is really not built for cutting straight lines, so Jessie wanted to go a little bit shorter, and we're just going to go ahead and cut that length very quickly with the next. You'll see how clean and nice the next shear does cut. And you know, you can slide cut with a shear like Next too. I mean, it's a convex edge shear. It's really smooth and nice to work with. But the reality is, with a shear that's built for blunt cutting, when you slide cut with it, there's always the risk that if you close it a little too quickly, you can get yourself in trouble. So now we're going to go ahead and begin with the slide cutting techniques on Jessie's hair. As you can see, we've got a kind of a simple parting in the back. We put a lot of the hair up, and Allison is going ahead and sculpting with the shear. You'll see the way she just slides the blade into the hair. She kind of weaves in the hair, so she's taking little slide cuts throughout the section. And what she does is she looks at the depth of the hair and the thickness of the hair, and she's looking to try and create the transparency that she's looking for. And again, these are vertical layers of texture. She's not removing any length with this technique when she's cutting gently. Now in this case, she's doing a twisting technique because she wants to create little points, and she's going to cut from both sides of the section to kind of, again, create kind of a V shape in the hair. She's looking for these negative and positive spaces as she goes through. And again, it's a very free form, you know, real artsy technique. So again, more points in the hair by twisting the hair and coming in from both sides so that she's really creating kind of a V-shaped cut in the end. Now, if you watch the other sculpting hair video with the model Jennifer, in that case she was going for a little more radical cut, and she was a lot more aggressive with some of these techniques. In fact, actually carving little V-shaped points into the bottom of the outline of the hair. But in Jessie's case, in this model's case, she wants to keep the look a little bit more conservative. You can muss it up at the end with some pomade and hairspray and have a very sexy look, but you can also comb this down and flat iron it and have a very conservative look as well. Now, working in this next section, she's going to get a lot more aggressive because she wants to create more of that negative space. So she wants the darker color that she's put into the hair to show up through the surface of the texture. And so she's again looking for more negative space and able to work a little bit more aggressively to create that transparency. You can see on the side that she's worked on how much more of that transparency and how much more texture she's created in there. So here again, she'll pick up the next section and do the same thing. And so, you know, you put a little pomade in there and all those little pieces are going to show up. And so that's really what makes this fun, is that you can work with it. Now she's moving into the red zone. You know, the hair tends to be a little finer or a little thinner in this area, especially in fine hair. You can really see through it. So she's going to not close the shear all the way, and she's going to also use a gentler kind of an approach, and it allows her to remove less hair. So again, you can vary the technique and the amount of pressure and how far you close the shear depending on how much hair you want to remove and how fine the hair is that you're working with. And again, in the red zone, she's going to take a smaller section, but she still wants to create that pointed V-shaped look. And so she's going to twist that as well and work through it again, but more gently to remove less hair. you'll see that the rotating handle, a lot of times she'll use it. Now, in this case, she doesn't really need to rotate it because it allows her to work with her elbow down without having to turn the thumb. But in some techniques, you'll see that she'll just naturally drop her elbow and take advantage of that rotating handle as well. Again, working much more gently, much less aggressively in the thinner hair in the red zone. Once again, on the other side, it's a little denser in the back, so she's going to take a little bit more hair. But as she moves towards the front, you see all of a sudden her approach is more gentle, and she's not closing the shear all the way. And these techniques are something that you have to play with a little bit to get good at. And for Allison, it was really a matter of 2 or 3 haircuts. She got very much in control with it. And it also varies from client to client. On the other model that we did, Jennifer had a lot more hair, and Allison was able to be a lot more aggressive in removing hair on her. This model has finer, thinner hair, and so it requires a more gentle approach. And if you watch both of the videos that we've done sculpting hair, you'll see that Allison, just in the time between shooting the 2 videos, has gotten that much more adept at these techniques. So when we did the original video with Jennifer, the haircut took about 40 minutes, and Allison was still new to doing these techniques and wanted to take her time. Now she works very quickly and uses these techniques every day in the salon, and it's really become second nature to her. And now her haircut time is back down to normal, but she's creating these amazing textured looks. So you can see how that really opens up the space. So again, you just can't do these techniques with an ordinary scissor. So next becomes a tool that opens up an entirely new horizon of technique that's available. She really wants to create kind of a V-shaped pointed section here that's going to lay on top to just sort of accent the other color and texture that she's placed underneath. So she's coming in fairly aggressive here, and she's going ahead and removing some length too, because she's got the length below to support the overall outline. But now she's able to create that negative space, creating that kind of a V-shaped section that lays on top. And again, not as punk rock as the previous haircut that we did on the first sculpting video, but yet a twist on cutting long layers that really adds a new dimension and a new look to this type of a haircut. Again, working both sides of the section, creating these V shapes that lay on top, and that's going to create that visual depth. Now she comes back in there because she really felt like she still didn't have enough of the kind of V shaping that she was looking for. And you can always come back and work it a little bit more until you get the desired effect. So again, this is technique that really revolves around your eye and what you're trying to achieve with the hair. It's more, as she refers to it, more sculpting with hair. And again, she could cut out that baseline and chop that up if she was working on a more aggressive client that really wanted that type of a look. But she's leaving this cut relatively conservative, so that's why she's leaving all that length. Now she wants to take this section a little bit shorter, so it allows her to be that much more aggressive. You can see that she's going to close the blades a little more quickly and a little more completely, probably apply a little bit extra pressure as she's feeding the hair into the blades, and she really removed a lot of length to create a nice shorter layer that's going to add texture and lay on top of the longer layers below. Now this time we'll do it a little bit more slowly so that you can really see again how smoothly these shears cut. She wants to take this length off here and create texture up in the top. So she's going to come in very aggressively and slowly close the shear, but close it completely as she's coming in, which allows her to take more hair as she's coming through. And again, even though we tried to slow down for this section, she was so used to working at a pace with the shear that she didn't even take it as slowly as we initially wanted to. Look at how soft the point cutting is too. Again, with normal shears, when you're point cutting, you can really create some very hard points in the hair. With this shear, because of the way the hair moves off the blade, you really can point cut very softly in the hair. Now she wants to work this into more of a V, so she's going to start by taking out some weight, create some texture, but she doesn't really want to do it as aggressively because this is once again above the red zone. And now that she's got the texture, she's going to want to create more of a V, so she's going to pinch it together and work off of the guide that she has there. And now she's going to bring in that V shaping by slide cutting from both sides. And again, she started with a little bit of a guide from the side and was able to carry that through. And here again, a little bit more gently, working in the second section above the red line. Creating some feathering down at the base here and soft texture to sort of frame the fringe on the hair. You just have to be careful when you're working in the red zone that you're leaving enough hair down at the base, and up higher you can get a little more aggressive because you've got the hair below it to maintain the opacity. Directing the hair forward and then slide cutting to get that kind of forward movement. She's parting the section on that angle so that she's making that hair move forward. So she wants it to flow inward, so she's going to move it toward the shear as she moves through it. And again, that will create texture that moves in the direction that she wants the hair to ultimately move. And here again, moving the hair in the direction that she wants it to flow. And look at how feathery and airy it gets along the edges. There's just going to be a lot of texture all through here. Now moving back around to the other side. You have to let the hair speak to you. You want to kind of see what it needs, see, where it's heavier and you need to remove more, where it's finer and you need to remove less. First applying the texture, then taking out a little bit of the length so that it lays more as a layer. With that very soft point cutting technique, you really can't get in trouble, and you get just such a soft finish on the ends. It allows you to create a layer without a hard layer. Again, slide cutting more texture in at the top, in the middle of the section. She holds it against her hand to kind of judge the transparency, see if there's any areas that are still thicker than she wants. And she can go back in and remove a little more weight there. Now, like on the other side where the short piece was, she's going to pick up the section. There's her guide. She's going to come back in and create some texture on the top. And then following that guide, she's going to create that point. The hair that falls out doesn't need to be cut, it's already in the shape. And she just works it down to the end. And once again, she's going to part the hair at an angle because she wants that forward movement. And she's going to come in the red zone gently. Less pushing, and you're never really going to close your blades. You never get past that open point right there. That's how you avoid taking too much hair in the red zone or in areas where the hair is thinner and you don't want to remove as much weight. And again, you'll learn more and more about this as you work with the shears, and it doesn't hurt to even get a mannequin head and experiment on that to feel confident in your technique. Here again, we're trying to create that negative space, open a window through the color and the texture that's beneath. In a more edgy haircut, you might get really aggressive in here and have really broken up pieces like we did in the earlier sculpting video. What's really nice is that you're using these ultra-modern techniques, and yet you're able to create haircuts that can be worn in kind of a conservative, normal way, but there's so much more, modern activity going on in the hair. So, it really looks like runway hair that you can wear every day. So that's kind of what's exciting about these techniques, is it just really gives you a creative freedom that you don't have with ordinary shears. Again, trying to create more of a point there. Now she wants the hair to flow that way to the right, so she's going to push it to the right as she cuts. And again, you never want to try a technique like this with an ordinary scissor, especially in the fringe. And again, try to cut in the direction that you want the hair to move. So here she's very gently just taking some of the weight out of the bangs and creating texture on the ends of the fringe, but in a much different way than you would do with any other shear. She's just looking for where she wants the weight to come out. And again, very gentle, very soft technique here. Not trying to remove a lot, just little pieces to create the kind of look that she wants. And you can even kind of let the hair cut itself by gently bouncing it on the blade as she combs through. The heavier bits will tend to sort of come off, and the finer hair will remain. So again, another technique that you definitely don't want to try with another shear, and even with this shear you don't want to close the shear completely doing this technique, but you're sort of bouncing the hair on the blade, and the heavier bits will thin themselves out in the process. And you get a very soft line, which Allie's really loving in this look. And that was just the under layer, and so it's created a lot of texture in the bangs, and yet, you know, still not getting too wild. Remembering that this is a client that prefers to keep her hair a little bit more conservative. So, quite a juxtaposition between this and the first sculpting video we did that was very punky and rock star looking. And I suppose the point of that is that you can use these techniques and this shear on any kind of a client to create any kind of a look. And you know, here we'll end up with a more conservative look, but still very modern, very edgy, with a lot of texture and just a really beautiful, beautiful haircut. You can see how soft and nice this looks around the face. So, you know, this technique is really allowing Allison to create a very modern cut. She's going to finish with a little point cutting on top. She's trying to keep this cut a little bit more conservative than the previous one, so she's going to use the point cutting technique to kind of tie things from one side to another together. And she's going to start by showing us the elbow up position you'd be in if you had a fixed handled shear, and then she'll drop into the more comfortable position because of the rotating handle. I'll let her take it from here.
And this really isn't taking much hair. It's just softening everything. Just let whatever doesn't want to be there fall right out. Very soft, very feathery, creates some volume and texture when you don't have any hard lines. See, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit this side. This is where our part is, so this is the slightly heavier side. Use my guide right there. Pop that out.
She applied some pomade and kind of used that to create some definition in the texture. And she's got a little bit of a shine spray that she's going to put on, and that's really all she's doing to finish this cut. Now here's the before look again, and as you can see, it's quite a transformation to the finished look of this new haircut. And now I'll let Allison tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so we're taking a real chance here. We're going to show you her actual expression when she sees this for the first time. So here we go.
Let's put your hands up. You're so welcome.
I think that's a genuine reaction too. I don't think she's faking it for the camera. You like it?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about what you did here this time, Allison?
Well, basically this just kind of demonstrated a whole different haircut that you can do with the same techniques, just going a little bit more aggressive or less aggressive to give you a more conservative, long layered, but still modern and very sassy and very sexy.
So here again is Jessie before and after. And again, taking a look at the back before and the dramatic change that we see in the after shots. So again, I think a very, very attractive look. Allison Locke is a great hairdresser. She's done a wonderful job using these new techniques. And it's really all possible with the shear like Slip. I hope you'll get a chance to try Slip for yourself and see what a revolutionary and exciting new product this is. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.